Bride ghosts me 2 weeks before the wedding for an impromptu bachelor's party with her college and shows up a few days before the wedding and acts surprised and angry. BC she has no wedding to return to. I, 24, was supposed to get married 3 days back, but I had to cancel everything because Mia, my fiancée, 24, female, did something super messed up. She and I have been together for the past 5 years since we were in college, and earlier this year we got engaged. We were very happy together and I had been super pumped about the wedding up until 2 weeks back. Things changed all of a sudden because one morning after I woke up, I just found her gone. No note, no text, no explanation. So of course I started panicking and I tried to call her, I tried to text her, but she didn't respond. And what's worse was that her phone was switched off for one entire day. I asked her family about it, but even they had no clue. And when I reached out to her friends, they did not respond to me. Initially, I thought that she had gotten cold feet and had made a run for it. But as time passed, I started to think that maybe something bad had happened and I was almost going to report her missing. But really late at night, I think around 4 in the morning, I finally found out what had actually happened and why she was missing. She did not even feel the need to inform me about it herself. I found out about it when one of her friends posted a bunch of pictures on Instagram and they were partying at some bar. Lucky for me they had tagged the bar in their stories and posts, and when I looked up the place online I realized that it was in Spain. I was furious because she was getting sloshed with her friends while I was worrying like crazy back here. So I instantly texted her and I told her that I had figured out where she was, and also told her that if she did not come back on the next flight, the wedding would be off. I also sent her a really long message about how disappointed I was in her behavior because she had literally just ghosted me for one full day and hadn't even had the common courtesy to inform her fiancé before taking off on some vacation with her friends. I was mad and I did not bother to hide it in the messages that I sent her after I saw the post that her friend had made, but even then she did not respond immediately. I had to wait until the next evening for her to finally call me back, and I think that was one of the most disappointing phone calls that I've ever had. Because when she finally did call me back, instead of apologizing profusely and trying to fix the situation, she made everything much worse, and that's why I ended up canceling the wedding. When I picked up the call, I was very cold towards her and she had picked up on that tone. But instead of acknowledging what she had done, she instantly started getting defensive. And she told me that her college friends had been planning this for her for a really long time, and they had only informed her about it after they had paid for everything. She knew that the two of us had discussed the idea of bachelor and bachelorette parties before, and she knew that I did not like it, so we hadn't bothered to have those sorts of parties. But a few days before the trip, when her friends contacted her and told her about it, she knew that she had to go because it would be really rude and inconsiderate of her to refuse after they had made all the arrangements and even paid for it. She had known about it for almost 3 days before the trip, and yet she hadn't told me about it, and that made me even more upset. So of course, I started yelling at her on the phone about her behavior. Even then, she did not seem to feel sorry and just kept getting more defensive. She told me that she knew for a fact that if she had discussed it with me, I wouldn't have agreed to it, and that's why she absolutely had to hide it from me and leave. And apparently, I don't know if it's true or not, she had tried to contact me later on in the day after she had landed in Spain, but her phone had been acting up. And after that, she forgot because she had been hanging out with her friends. It was crazy how something as important as informing me about her whereabouts could just slip her mind like that, especially when she was doing something so wrong. For some reason though, she just couldn't understand that what she had done was not cool and kept defending herself, saying that she had only been with me ever since she turned 18 and she deserved to have some sort of life experiences, whatever that means, before she finally settled down with me. I had no idea what she was blabbering about, and after a point, I started getting really annoyed and I told her that I still stand by whatever I had said. I told her that I wanted her back on the next flight, and if she did not come back, we would be done and there would be no wedding. And she told me that she was not coming back on the next flight because she and her friends had paid for a 2-week vacation and would only be coming back home a few days before the wedding. And she told me that I had to deal with it. Before I could even respond to that, she just disconnected the phone call. And when I tried to call her back, she did not answer. I was very upset with her, so I kept trying to text her for the next 2 days until I finally just gave up, because obviously partying with her friends was more important to her than her fiancé and even her wedding that we had been planning for the past God knows how many months. I even told her family everything, and from what I know they tried to contact her and convince her to come back as well, but she did not respond to them either. So eventually I did what I had to do and I called off the wedding. I did not make any formal announcements. I just reached out to everybody who had been invited and sent them a message saying that the wedding had been called off. And I also made sure to tell them not to speak to Mia about this and explained why exactly the wedding was being cancelled. I spoke to the vendors, took care of the cancellation charges and stuff, and I figured that I was going to get the money back from her later. But what was more important was teaching her a lesson, and I think that's where I might have messed up. Our parents were not happy about what I was doing and they wanted me to at least speak to her, wait for her to come back and then have a discussion with her. But I was not willing to do that because I was so angry and upset. Just for the record, we have never had problems like this in our relationship before. Of course, like any other couple, we do fight over petty stuff sometimes, but most of the time they're just insignificant arguments that are easily solvable and we do solve them. That's why we had been together for almost 6 years. And I had never felt that I'm too young to be getting married or that I'm not sure about her. I thought that she felt the same way. But when she said that she wanted to have some life experiences before she settled down with me, I felt really betrayed and I felt like I might have overreacted. A couple of days back she finally returned from her trip and she came straight back home, but I refused to let her in. She came back home around the evening and I didn't even open the door to her. I told her to go away from inside the house. We argued about it for a bit and she told me that I couldn't do this to her because we were supposed to be getting married in a few days. All the arrangements had already been made, so I needed to speak to her and sort this out instead of acting so immature. And that's when I broke the news to her. I opened the door because I wanted to see her face and I told her that the wedding had been called off. And she had no right to act shocked about it either because I had told her that that was exactly what I was going to do if she did not come back home soon. So all I had done was live up to my words. She was shocked and I could see her getting upset and within a few seconds she started crying and telling me that after being together for 6 years I couldn't just dump her over something like this. She started apologizing over and over again, telling me that she was ready to do whatever it took to forgive her, but I just had to marry her. And it really took me a lot of effort, but I knew that I couldn't forgive her. So I just shut the door and she kept crying and begging for me to talk to her outside for a good 20 minutes or so before she finally left. I know that she's staying with her parents right now and she is completely shattered because of what has happened, which is why I feel really guilty because her parents have kept in touch with me and have told me that she has been refusing to eat or even come out of her room and all she asks is whether I have agreed to meet her yet or not. They don't say it, but I know from their tone that her parents and even my parents think that I have been too hasty and maybe a little too harsh in dealing with the situation. And after yesterday, I've been wondering about it myself because apart from the group of college friends that had gone on the trip with her, everybody who had been on the guest list had received a message from me informing them about the wedding being called off and why. Most of them did not respond to me apart from just consoling me, but I know that a few of them who were kind of close with Mia in spite of my note telling them not to bring this up with her had actually gone out of their way to forward her my message when she was out with her friends, but she hadn't taken it seriously because she thought that they were bluffing and trying to scare her into coming back. Now, of course, she regrets everything that she has done and she has been sending everybody messages of her own telling them that she's really sorry about everything because she knows that she has let everybody in her life down, especially me. And since I've blocked her, she can't get to me directly, so she's been telling everybody else on the guest list to pass on the messages to me. And all of those texts have been of her just apologizing, telling me how much I mean to her and how she would hate to lose me forever. She has said that she still wants to get married to me and she doesn't even care if we don't celebrate it in the grand way that we had planned. She just wants to be with me and she knows that she has made a huge mistake, but she's never going to repeat it again. All she needs is a second chance. I'm just paraphrasing right now because it will be too much work to copy and paste those messages, but people have been forwarding those texts to me and I don't know why. I just feel really guilty about it, particularly after yesterday. Like I said in the beginning, I was supposed to get married yesterday. And when I woke up, it just hit me so hard that I was supposed to be getting married today, but it's all ruined now. A relationship of almost 6 years is just gone, just like that. Of course, something like that is very difficult to come to terms with. And on top of that, I had people flooding my phone with consolations and some people were still forwarding apologies from markers and most of them just had nothing worthwhile to add to the conversation. So they were just randomly texting me to say hi and stuff. But I just felt so empty. I felt like my entire world had been turned upside down in just a couple of days, which in fact it had. So I was already finding everything very hard to deal with emotionally and I decided that I was going to try and talk to my parents to clear my head. But when I went to them, I could see that they were very upset as well because they were also quite emotionally invested in all this. Naturally, Mia and I have been together for 6 years and we have pretty much grown up together since we were 19, so it's a massive deal for everyone involved. And I thought that my parents were going to comfort me, that they were going to tell me that I did the right thing. But instead, when I tried to speak to them about what I was going through at first, they just didn't say anything and eventually they told me that they didn't think I had done the right thing. When they said that, my world just came crashing down around me because I had already been having a lot of doubts about what I had done. And my parents, of all people, saying that they did not agree with what had happened was just the last thing that I needed. And since then, I've been in a very weird state mentally and I keep second-guessing myself. I haven't even found the energy or the mental capacity to talk to any of my friends about this. And eventually, I just found myself here. I don't know who else to turn to at this point. And I really need completely unbiased opinions because I'm just lost right now. So Ida for canceling my wedding after my fiancé went on an impromptu bachelor trip 2 weeks before our wedding and refused to come back when I asked her to? Update 1. Hi. Thank you to everybody who commented on my post. It has been 4 days since I posted and I've been doing a lot of thinking about whatever has happened. I spoke to my parents about whatever they said, and I told them that it really hurt me. I didn't think that it was fair of them not to stand by my side and comfort me. And instead, they made me feel like I was the bad here, and I had overreacted. I mean, after I shared my story here, pretty much everybody in the comments was outraged on my behalf. So I really don't think that I did anything that wrong. And as my parents, they should understand that best of all. They heard me out when I spoke to them, but even then they did not seem to understand. And they told me that they had only said what they felt, which was the problem, because I couldn't understand how they felt that I was in the wrong here. My fiancée had literally taken off on a holiday with her friends without even informing me and then refused to come back when I told her to. I think that's a pretty big deal, and it's not like I hadn't warned her of the consequences. She knew that I was going to call after the wedding if she did not do as I asked her. I don't even think that my demands were that unreasonable, especially considering the fact that we were supposed to be getting married. So even after all this, how am I in the wrong? And it's baffling to me that my parents don't seem to understand it. They keep telling me that they get that I'm upset, but it was still a really petty reason to cancel a wedding and break up our relationship of almost 6 years. It wasn't easy for me to do it either, and the least they can do for me is just be supportive. But it seems to me like they're not even willing to do that. I've tried to speak to them about this a couple of times and every time we just ended up fighting. So now I don't think that I'm going to keep trying to talk to them and make them see my side of things. If they don't get it, I don't think I can help it anymore. They can keep believing that I'm the bad here, but I know what I did and I know why I had to do it. Life has already become very difficult for me in the past couple of weeks, so I don't need them to add to it. Apart from them, I've also had to speak to a couple of other people, mostly friends, who have been forwarding me all the messages that Mia had been telling them to send to me. As politely as I could, I explained to them that I was already going through a very difficult time and I did not need them to keep sending me the messages that Mia wanted to pass on to me because it was only making things hard for me emotionally. So I requested them to stop sending me these messages because I did not want to read them. And I don't even care if I came off as heartless or whatever. I just wanted this whole situation to stop because all the messages had started to make me feel as if I was obliged to talk to or meet Mia. And I'm not ready for that. I'll do things at my own pace, not just because people are sending me messages from her and are pestering me. After that, most people stopped and told me that they were really sorry that they had been forwarding the messages, but they felt bad for Mia. However, if I didn't want them doing that, they would respect what I wanted and stay out of this. That was the majority of people. But a couple of our common friends started attacking me after I sent them that message, telling them not to pass on messages from Mia anymore. They started calling me self-centered and told me that I was destroying a relationship purely on an ego trip. These people have known me for quite some time, so if that's what they really think about me, I don't have anything to say to them. If my own parents can misunderstand me, I don't think I have the right to expect anything from my so-called friends of all people. When they started attacking me and trying to guilt-trip me, I didn't even bother to argue with them or try to get them to see my side. I had already learned my lesson with my parents, so I just blocked them and decided to move on with my life. I know that right now everybody thinks that Mia is the victim in the situation and that I am the heartless control freak who dumped her just because she refused to come back from a trip on my terms. It's just very shocking that even after knowing the entire story, people still had any sympathy for her because as far as I remember I had mentioned all the details in the message which I sent out to people telling everyone that the wedding was called off. I guess I'll never understand these things, but anyway, it doesn't matter anymore. The bottom line is that the relationship is over and that I'm not getting married to this girl anymore. I have started to try and make my peace with that fact, and it's better that everybody else around me tries to do the same. Update 2. Hi, so it's been 2 weeks since I last spoke to my parents and since our last fight. They haven't tried to contact me. I don't mind it, if they don't see my point even now, I can't help it. Most other people who've been passing on the messages from Mia have also either given up or been blocked. So that's that. But a couple of days back, very shockingly, the friends that she had gone on that trip with contacted me out of the blue. Of course, I had blocked all of them at the same time that I had blocked Mia because I wanted nothing to do with them. And after that, they hadn't tried to contact me because, of course, they didn't have the guts to do it until now, I guess. Anyway, they reached out to me by writing an email telling me that they were really sorry about everything that had happened, and they had realized that they shouldn't have made such a hasty plan and roped Mia in. Instead, they probably should have given her good advice instead of egging her on to ignore whatever I had said and just keep on enjoying the vacation with them. I don't know if they were actually apologizing or digging an even deeper grave for her because when I realized that they had actually encouraged her not to come back, when I asked her to and told her not to reach back out to me, I felt even worse about the situation. I don't care what they had said and done. I just found it very pathetic that Mia, a grown woman, had allowed herself to be misled into a situation like that, and that's how she ended up ruining everything that we had for the past 6 years over one stupid little trip. She was not a teenager who had to give in to peer pressure. She knew what she was doing and it just made me so mad that I didn't even bother reading the rest of the email. I just deleted it immediately. I didn't care for their apology and that the rest of it would just be the same old crap telling me to forgive her or at least talk to her or whatever. I didn't need to hear that from them, of all people, because if these had been her real friends, they would have cared about her relationship and advised her to do the right thing. And they didn't do that. So now I don't need to see or read anything that they have to say. Besides, It's too late now. I've already started trying to move on and I've accepted the fact that the relationship is over. So now there's no way that I'm going to be going back to Mia. The last thing that I had to do, I had to inform her when she could come by to collect everything that she had left, and that would be the final closure that I needed. I had been waiting for a while because I hadn't felt ready for it yet. But last night, I finally contacted her parents and told them that she could come by any time this week in the evening and collect everything of her. They tried to get me to speak to her while I was on the phone, but I hung up before that could happen. Like I said, the last step that I needed to complete so I could finally start trying to move on was to tell her to come over and take her things. And now that I have done that, I don't think I need to talk to her anymore. I'm done. Update 3. So today, Mia finally came over to collect her things and I knew that it was going to be difficult. So I had already mentally prepared myself for the worst. But in actuality, thankfully, it wasn't really that bad. I had contacted her parents almost 10 days ago so that she could come over anytime in the evening to collect her things that week. But obviously more than 1 week passed before she finally showed up. In the meantime, her friends from college probably realized that I hadn't even read that email and started trying to text me from a burner phone. They skipped all the rubbish that they had spoken about in the beginning and cut straight to the chase in their text, telling me that Mia really missed me and that she was willing to do whatever it took to fix our relationship. But all I had to do was just speak to her. They were literally begging me on her behalf, but I just blocked them again, and after trying to call me from various numbers for a couple of days, they finally stopped trying. After that, for the past 5 days, I haven't heard anything from anyone. And then last evening, Mia's parents called me and told me that she would be coming over today to collect her things and, surprisingly, they even apologized for everything that had gone wrong and told me that they wished that things would have worked out another way. But this is how it is and we all have to deal with it. That was shocking to hear, and I guess that maybe Mia had finally changed her mind about trying to win me back and had accepted what was going on. I felt a little bad about it because this meant that things were really coming to an end, but this is exactly what I had wanted from the beginning. So I dealt with it. Anyway, she came over a couple of hours ago with her dad and I restricted myself to the guest room instead of the living room so that I wouldn't have to see too much of them while they packed their things. It took about an hour and a half for them to be completely done with everything because, of course, we have been staying together for the past 4 years, and that meant that we had a lot of stuff together. Anyway, after they were finally done, her dad left the two of us to speak in private because I had asked for it. I didn't exactly have anything in mind to say to her specifically. I just wanted to say goodbye and get that closure, I guess. So that's what I did. It was really awkward and she started to cry, but then she told me that she was really sorry that things had to end this way and she wished that she had been a better partner, but this is how it was. And of course it was too late to change things now. Seeing her cry, eventually I started tearing up as well and I didn't want that. So we quickly hugged, wished each other the best for the future, and then she left. After she was finally gone, I ended up crying for about an hour before I could finally pull myself together, but I needed that. I needed to see her one last time and end on not such a bitter note as we had the last time. Of course, it's still not a good note to be ending on, but it's not as terrible as I had expected. I wouldn't say that I'm happy now, but at least I'm content that I got some closure. Everything hurts right now, but I know it's not the end of the world. I'm still pretty young and I have a lot to look forward to in life. So I guess I'm gonna throw myself into my work and try to keep myself distracted from everything that has gone wrong and just try to move on in general. Update 4. Hey, guys. It feels really weird posting an update after almost a year since I was supposed to get married but didn't. Looking back, I think it was a good decision because I'm doing a lot better now. In the beginning, it was very difficult for me because I was not on speaking terms with my parents. And, of course, the person that I had pretty much decided to spend the rest of my life with was no longer with me anymore. So my mental health really took a hit. But then with the help of a few good friends, I started getting back on my feet. I started going to the gym. I started working and partying equally hard. And I also started therapy a couple of months after my breakup. Since then, I've come a long way, and even though I wouldn't say that I've completely healed, I am definitely dealing with everything better. My parents and I have still not spoken to each other and they have even blocked me everywhere. I guess they're too egoistic to admit that I had made the right choice for myself, but it's fine. I don't expect any better from anyone and neither do I care if I'm being very honest. Mia and I had also not spoken and I had kept her blocked, but funnily enough we ran into each other at a restaurant a couple of weeks ago. We hadn't seen each other for a long time and it was very awkward because she was out with her coworkers and I had shown up with my friends. I was honestly considering leaving when she walked up to my table and said hi. She made an effort to be nice to me and so did I, and it was pretty good. And that's exactly why I'm writing this update right now, since I remembered how badly I had been doing around this time last year. But right now, I'm pretty content with the life that I have. Stay tuned for more stories from our boy relationships.